Hello, welcome to the Public Square. What is your name?
I'm William.
William. And William, how long have you been here in Belfast?
Yeah, most of my life, probably like 28 years, whatever. I've lived other places, but most of my life here.
Okay. We had a discussion off camera about transnational repression, and you learned that the United States, as well as the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, are partaking in this kind of political repression. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, like I didn't know about this before we spoke. It surprises me in a way, but at the same time I'm not surprised. It's just something I hadn't really thought about. So it makes you think like what kind of stuff is happening behind the scenes that we don't know about. But yeah, it is a little bit shocking.
So there is a Human Rights Commission here in Northern Ireland called the Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission. It is tasked with upholding the international conventions and the covenants, as well as the Human Rights Act of 1998. It has failed to speak out against this kind of political repression, which I think is quite unfortunate. Does its failure to speak out against this, I guess, diminish its credibility as a human rights watchdog?
That's a good question. There's obviously a reason why they haven't spoke out against it. Like that's my first thought. Maybe it's because it can't be like proven directly. I don't know. Maybe there's something to that. Like they need like complete and utter evidence. Like obviously, like you see like court cases and stuff where you think it's like certain the person's guilty and they're not found guilty because maybe it's something to do with overall extreme evidence. I don't know. I don't know how these things work, but I imagine based on what you're saying, maybe it is pretty clear. But if it is clear cut, yeah, why aren't they speaking out against it? Yeah.
Well, there is evidence of the action of transnational repression, but I think what's happening is that organizations like Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission are knowledge resistant. So if a person is presenting evidence to them, they are not taking it as the best evidence. And it could be authority bias. For example, Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission could say, well, I don't believe this is happening because I don't think that this person is an authority on that. Or I need war proof because to me this person does not seem creditable. And what that does is it deprives a person of being an epistemic subject, saying that a person's knowledge around that particular issue is insufficient to stand as evidence. Another question that I have is about the National Crime Agency. The National Crime Agency here in Northern Ireland or in the UK, they do investigate cybercrime. One of the ways in which states engage in transnational repression is by partaking in cyber-related acts such as digital harassment, altering their information that is online, as well as hacking into their devices. Should the National Crime Agency devote more resources to investigating this?
Yes, in a short answer, yeah. Like if that's actually happening to people, that's obviously something we'd be looking to avoid. I imagine there are some resources, but like, yeah, obviously anything that could stop that, because obviously this is like a case of like freedom of speech, and if people are getting harassed based on them having opinions on like a political regime across borders, across countries, like that's not on. Yeah.
I want to go back to evidence because that is something that has come up a lot. What is your perception or your idea of what makes the best evidence?
Obviously when it's completely clear cut. So like say there's like a huge correlation with say you spoke out about a particular regime and then suddenly you got all this harassment, you could link them, but if you can't locate where they're coming from or who they're coming from or what it is, then you can't actually give the evidence unless it says like it's coming from a specific place. That's what I imagine is what happens, right?
Right. But did you know, well, you probably may not know this, or maybe you do, that human rights law does not put such a strong burden of proof on victims. Specifically, human rights law has stated that if a victim has made out a prima facie case, essentially that's on its face that this kind of activity has happened or this human rights violation has happened, the burden of proof shifts to the government to disprove those allegations made against it. If the government has failed to conduct a thorough investigation, then that burden of proof remains on the government. Do you agree with that?
I've never really thought about it like that. Like, so what you're saying is that someone has experienced like abuse, and then they claim that it's coming from a government, and then it's on the government to disprove that.
Yes, because human rights courts have found that governments are reluctant to divulge information where they have engaged in a human rights violation, and most of this information is within their custody. So, for example, legislation specifies that if a government is surveilling a person, sometimes those files are to be kept private, and oftentimes governments misuse or abuse their authority to surveil. And so human rights law is, I guess, putting it back in the victim's corner to say, yeah, the government, you should release this information because you have it. It's not the victim that has it.
Yeah. No, I agree. They should release all information and that stuff. Yeah, especially when we're not aware that they are surveilling us. Yeah.
And what is your knowledge around human rights? Have you ever had your rights violated, or?
Well, I think for me, like, I'm like whatever. I'm like a white straight male guy from here, whatever. Like, I've had a pretty smooth life, I would say. Like here, so like I haven't had any like rights violations. Like, come from like a middle class family. It's been smooth. So I'm not like as attached or like active in these areas. I think based on that, I have many friends that have had these experiences, but personally, my life's been smooth in that way. I've not had bad effects from the government or whatever, maybe like familial issues and things like that in relationships, but like, no, it's been smooth in that way.
All right, and tell us your name again.
My name is William.
William. Thank you, William, for your time.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you for doing
Thanks.
this. Yeah.